Jim Power: The Lost Dimension in 3D is a very unique title launched for the Super Nintendo back in 1993. I remember buying this game when it was on sale at some point, and it intrigued me because it came with some 3D glasses. The game had this very strange reverse parallax scrolling, and it was an interesting effect, but in all honesty, it was very headache inducing. So I find this very crazy that in the year 2020, Jim Power is being reborn, given new life with a brand new NES version of the game, a new and improved Super Nintendo version, a complete Genesis version, and a couple others. So today we're going to take a look at some footage of these games and talk about a brand new Kickstarter from Piko Interactive. So Piko Interactive, they just launched this Kickstarter, and so far it seems to be pretty damn successful for only being up for a couple days. The goal is $50,000. They're already just about at $26,000. Pretty nuts just for being up for a couple days. So hey, I wanted to take a look at this. I got in contact with Piko, did get to try out the NES version and the brand new improved Super Nintendo version that I'm actually pretty excited to take a look at and talk about with you guys. So there's a couple other versions as well. A Sega Genesis version that's a complete, fully playable game, and re-releases for Super Nintendo TurboGrafx CD and the CD32. So they have a lot of information here, a little backstory. I actually find this kind of stuff interesting. As Piko, they acquire licenses to a lot of long lost, forgotten games, some games that were never released in the US or foreign games, and they wind up either finishing up prototypes, translating games, combination of the two. And with this instance, they're actually developing a brand new game with the Jim Power license here. So they say back in 2014, they wanted to take a look at Jim Power, so they acquired the license for the Amiga game, which is a little bit different than the Jim Power in the Lost Dimension 3D. So they finalized the licensing agreement. The original programmers sent them a bunch of stuff, and to their surprise, they found a fully playable Sega Genesis version. Pretty interesting stuff. We'll take a look at that as well. The game actually, I'm really excited for the Genesis version, so I feel like it plays a little differently than the other versions, and it's kind of a different game, but the same game at the same time. So when they acquired these rights, they also started development of a brand new NES version. So they had some issues, I guess. They said they were talking to the original creator back in 2016 to get approval for certain things, and they stopped hearing from him. And then in 2018, they found out that the original creator had passed away. So very unfortunate, and that did complicate things for the project, as they say, because they did need to get certain permissions and approvals on things. So they did wind up getting in contact with the creator's partner, and as a state, they got full rights. So pretty cool stuff. Then around September, just a few months ago, they got the full intellectual property, so they can do a bunch of other things besides video games. So there you go. They're talking about that with their acquisition, they can produce other things, maybe even like action figures. I don't know. We'll have to see how far this stuff goes, but I know they're talking about some comic books and whatnot. So they go into a lot of detail here. Jim Power is a shoot 'em up similar to Mega Man, Turrican, and Contra. The interesting thing is the music is done by this guy, Chris Beck, who did the soundtrack for Turrican. So he's done the soundtrack for a bunch of other games, but he did the music for Jim Power as well. So here we go. They also talk about the quality of the production of the things that they're doing here with the physical releases, because these are going to be physically released cartridges and discs. So they state they're going to use either 5-volt compatible integrated circuits or level shifters to ensure there are no worries from backers that the game boards can damage their consoles. The cart pins will also be gold and beveled. When these companies, they don't bevel the edges. Beveled edges are hard to make for some people. Man, it could wind up stressing the pins in your console, becoming very difficult to remove. They're making sure they got beveled edges on this release, so that's a good thing. Gold-plated pins, as they usually do. The CDs for the TurboGrafx CD and the CD32 are going to be pressed professionally. So there you go. 5 different versions. Jim Power: Lost Dimension for the NES, developed from scratch by their team. So this one I did find really cool, and like I said, I'm more excited about the NES version than any of the other versions. Unfortunately, the demo that I got to play is very short. You just fight against the little mid boss and the game kind of ends. But with this being fairly faithful so far to like the Super Nintendo version, but being a little different, I love this stuff. I love NES games. And for me, this may be the ultimate version. I really enjoyed playing through the little bit that I got a chance to play, hoping to get my hands on the full version at some point, because that's definitely going to be a cool thing. But this version, yes, I'm really digging it. It controls very well. It's still a little bit of a difficult game. These Jim Power games are pretty damn challenging, to say the least. But with that said, they also are releasing a Sega Genesis version. And I know there's been other versions of this, like prototypes that have been released before that weren't complete. This is going to be a complete, fully playable game. So that's a good thing. This one doesn't have that weird parallax scrolling, that reverse stuff going on. And if I were to be honest, out of all the versions that I have played, the Genesis one is the one that I'm going to be next most excited for. Just because it's the style, everything, it just kind of fits. This game just seems like a Genesis game to me. Whereas the Super Nintendo version is cool, especially the new version that they're putting out. But the Genesis one, it feels really really nice to me, and the graphics just, they pop in that Genesis way. So I'm really digging this one so far. The challenge is still there, but they've tweaked these versions of the games to ensure that the challenge is a little bit more balanced and not just straight up cheap. So I think that's a really good thing, especially like the original Super Nintendo version was just a freaking beast of a game, man. Like, I gave up on it. I don't think I passed like the first stage originally back when I had the game, just mainly because of that weird parallax scrolling, and the game was just, it was difficult. It was a pretty damn difficult game. I don't know how many people have actually played through it, but with these versions, I think I'll finally have the chance to actually play through them. So the Super Nintendo version, they reworked this thing. They got rid of that crazy inverted parallax scrolling. They have a hit system in the game, which, you know, it balances the difficulty. They also have changed a few things. They have some level screens, different endings. So it's a whole new and improved version of the game. And if you look at the original, my God, that scrolling effect where that middle plane kind of goes in the reverse direction, it's very off-putting. This version that they're releasing, they changed it so it's kind of it's scrolling the other way. It's still kind of a neat effect, but it's not headache-inducing like the original version. I feel like I can actually play through this one. The graphics, the colors are a little bit more vibrant than the Genesis version, but I still really like the way the Genesis version looks compared to the Super Nintendo one. But I'd be interested in playing all of them. And like I said, so far, I think the NES is my top, and then the Genesis is the next one that I'd want to play. Now, they do have an Amiga CD32 version. I don't have any way to play this, even if I did have access to it. But from what they're saying, this version will include the TurboGrafx soundtrack, so it's going to have CD quality music. And they'll also include the DOS version if you want to play it on a Windows computer. So kind of neat. Like, these were the earlier versions where Jim Power was like more of a I don't know, like not an intergalactic like crazy dude. Like, he just seemed more of a normal guy. I mean, the other versions, he's like kind of like a spaceman type thing. And this one, the graphics are a little different. Same thing with the PC Engine TurboGrafx version, which I have been able to play. I did get access to this when I bought my Super SD System 3 from Terra Onion on Stone Age Gamer. Stone Age Gamer, they work with Piko Interactive to give you some access to some games here and there if you do buy some flashcards, which I think is really cool. You get a little bonus, you know what I'm saying? But playing this version, the TurboGrafx CD, which was a Japanese exclusive PC Engine game, it's going to be the first time that it's available worldwide. So some people may appreciate that. For me, I just have to be honest. Playing this game on my PC Engine, it's a little wonky. It's a little wonky. The controls just don't feel as fluid as the other versions. Granted, I didn't get very far when I did play this game on the PC Engine, but I just feel it's not as solid of a game as the new Super Nintendo version or the Genesis version. or even the brand new NES version. Out of all of them that I've played, the PC Engine one is my least favorite, but I know there's a lot of PC Engine TurboGrafx collectors out there. This is going to be a chance to get an officially licensed, professionally pressed disc for that system. If you got to have it, you know what I'm saying? So pretty cool stuff. So moving on, now that we've taken a look at some gameplay of the various versions of Jim Powers, let's continue on with the Kickstarter. So there's a bunch of stretch goals. I'm not going to read through all the details of this stuff. If you are interested, I will have a link in the description. But it does look like a few of them are for comic books. So like I said earlier, they do own the rights to Jim Power. So it looks like they're going to be doing some various things with it. Stretch goal 4 at 140,000, they will be doing a Famicom, Super Famicom version, completely in Japanese with Japanese art style and Japanese box dimensions. So that could be pretty cool. At 180,000, they'll do digital editions of the Sega Genesis version for the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation Network. Really ambitious, at 300,000, they'll do physical editions of the Switch and PS4 version. Could be kind of cool, but like I said, a little ambitious. Now, the one that I think is really crazily ambitious, we'll have to wait and see, is at 350,000. They'll be doing a Neo Geo version, a whole brand new arcade game for the Neo Geo, new bosses, enemies, soundtrack, the whole works. Could be pretty crazy, but like I said, a little ambitious. We'll have to wait and see on that one. The rest of the stretch goals look like they're for animated series, similar to what we've seen in the beginning of this video. That kind of style could be kind of neat. I mean, I would be definitely interested in seeing that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the tiers real quick before we end this video. So we do have 8 different tiers here. Things can be a little confusing, so I'm going to try to go over this the best I can. Now, there is an early bird version of the regular edition. You save a few bucks, $43. You get the physical edition, cartridge or disc. You get to choose which platform you want. Comes in a colored box and color instruction manual, $43. So far, there's 95 left as of the recording of this video. Estimated deliveries around August of this year. Next one is just the non-early bird version of the regular edition. There's 4 backers on there. I never understand that. Why not jump on the early bird version? I guess these guys want to pay a few bucks more. That is okay, I guess. $80 Jim Power Special Edition early bird. So you get a physical special edition for the platform of your choosing. The game includes region-free cart or CD, whichever platform, color box with special edition art, color manual, and a poster and original soundtrack. It also states the special edition perk will include most stretch goals for free, except for Neo Geo. So pay real close attention to whatever tier if you are interested with this, with the stretch goals. Really read into what you would be getting there. So that was the special edition early bird. And then there is a dual pack regular edition. You get 2 different platforms of your choosing, 90 bucks. Jim Power Special Edition. That is the non-early bird. So same as the special edition there. Special edition dual pack. So you get 2 special editions. Looks like you got a handful of backers there already. Choose 2 platforms. Get 2 special editions. Okay. Jim Power Regular Edition bundle. Receive 5 regular editions, 1 for each platform. Yeah, that one's got some backers too, man. $205, you get each version of it. $400, holy crap. Now we're talking about some money here. Jim Power Special Edition bundle. You get the special edition for each platform. This tier entitles you to all stretch goals with the exception of the Neo Geo stretch goal. But it did state with the Neo Geo stuff that they'll offer like a discount. So like I said, really pay attention to that stuff. I think this is pretty neat. You know, Piko does a lot of interesting things with old school games. So if you're into, you know, retro games, new stuff for retro games, things we haven't had access to, or stuff like this where we're getting a brand new NES game, a complete Genesis game, a revamped Super Nintendo version of a game that could have been really good back in the day, but kind of suffered because of that weird scrolling stuff, but these guys fixed it. So, hey, if you're interested, you know, I'm not affiliated with these guys. I just thought this was interesting. Wanted to share this with you guys. Link will be in the description. Take a look. Really do appreciate you guys. And with that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out. Bye-bye and boom. Bye.